Cool, so going to start off with a quiz. So this is just on sort of chapter 3's content. That's what this quiz is about. Your system is complete and ready for users. Which of the following participants is responsible for providing instruction manuals? So if we're in a company, what like job or job description, or like what person's job description would include creating instruction manuals? Do we remember? I think it's not so bad when you consider like how they're created, right? Okay. See, there's 4 people who are in now. Cool. Okay, most people got it. That's cool. Interesting. Yeah, so remember, so instruction manuals are written. That's the easy way to remember it. So like, who would write out of these people? Well, the technical writer is a good assessment. A content developer is a person who makes content for the site just before initial release. So like you can imagine if we were developing YouTube, we would need some videos on the site in order to encourage initial users, right? Like you couldn't just release the site with nothing on it. So you do need someone to create the initial bit of content. A user interface designer, so UX design and user interface design is a very big job. So you wouldn't ask them to also write the instruction manuals. At least you wouldn't in any company of sufficient size. Obviously, there are companies where the person who develops the thing is also the person who writes the documentation and manuals for it. But in general, in like a larger company, you'll have someone specifically assigned to that job. So, you know, all the manuals have the same style and sort of vocabulary and stuff. Cool. On to the next question. You are developing for a factory production line. Items need to be processed in the order they are added to the line. Which structure should you use? Items need to be processed in the order that they are added to the line. So we're now discussing data structures. And when we're discussing data structures and order, there's sort of 2 things you should be thinking about, right? Like, so we just have to establish which one is this referring to. See, 2 people answered very quickly. So that gives me some confidence, but let's see what happens. Okay, nice, 75%. Okay, someone said, interesting. So remember, arrays allow for instantaneous access anywhere in the data structure. A queue, so guys, whenever they're talking about order, when you're being asked about data structures and they're talking about the order that things happen in, so like first in, first out, or last in, first out, you must always be thinking about either queues or stacks, because linked lists and arrays don't really have an order. They're like you can jump around, right? So with arrays, you can instantaneously jump around, and with linked lists, you can be like next, previous, right? It's like you can always jump around. Whereas, yeah, so queues and stacks have specific orders. So when you see order, you'd be thinking about queues and stacks. And then you just have to think about, are they asking for first in, first out, like they are here, right? So when I add something to the production line, it must be processed next, and I just add them in a queue. Or is it last in, first out, in which case we're stacking them on top of each other. Okay, but yeah, nice. Let's go move on. Question 3 of 5. Okay, you are traversing over a singly linked list. What is the first item you need? Now, guys, this one's interesting because I did use this terminology with you a little bit, but really the reason I wanted to show you guys this question is because it could, this kind of wording might be a little bit new to you. So it would be good if we could see it. Make sure you read all the possible answers. Remember, the timing doesn't matter on this question. So all the answers will give max points if you get it correct. Okay. So take your time, really read through the options. Really, the distinction you're being asked about here is value or link, value or link. Okay, again, 75%, cool. So yeah, the big thing here was this distinction between value and link. All right. So I'm glad no one said tail node because it's a singly linked list. So we have to start at the front. In a doubly linked list where the links go both ways, you could start at the back and go previous, previous, previous. But they specified singly linked lists, so we have to go forward, right? So we start at the head node and we could go next, 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 but we can't go previous. So we start at the head node. Now the question is saying, okay, there's head node value. So that's the number that the head node holds. And then there's head node link, which they use the word link. I mostly use the word pointer because pointer is what it's actually called. But it's the same thing, right? It's the little arrow that's pointing to the next node. So they're asking you like, which one do you need in order to traverse over the singly linked list? Do you need the value or do you need the link? And hopefully after that explanation, you can see we need the link, right? We need the link. But yeah, nice. Let's go on. I think this is, okay, second last question. All right. My system may frequently access all the items it stores. Which data structure should I use? We won't usually insert or delete items. So we're not going to be inserting and deleting items, and we're frequently going to be accessing all of the data in our data structure, like some kind of fairly random order. Okay, so interesting one. Okay, cool. Wow, 3 out of 4 has been like for the last 3 questions. Eh? That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, doubly linked list is a bit tricky. I'll definitely say it is a bit tricky because it does give us fairly decent access, but doubly linked list would more be the answer when it says something like you're frequently jumping between like the next and previous item. Okay. But like where this says we'll frequently access all of the data, like all over our data structure, array is really what we're looking at, because then randomly I can just decide to access somewhere in my data and the array will instantaneously access all of it. Where a linked list would be great is linked lists are fantastic if you're frequently inserting and deleting data. And notice in the question it says we won't usually insert or delete items. Okay, we won't usually insert or delete items. So that means that the major advantage of a linked list is kind of defeated, okay? Because we're not going to be inserting or deleting a lot. We're just accessing it. We're just storing it. So array is definitely the ideal here. I'm glad no one said queue or stack, because we only think about queues and stacks when they're speaking about order, okay? When they're speaking about the order of the items. Okay, the last one is a bit tricky. The last question, Cam, is probably a bit tricky, but let's see. Okay, all answers give max points on this one, hey? So you don't take your time, take your time. Which of the following is not true about arrays? Okay, so take your time. The possible answers are very long. So read through them, think about it. So which of the following is not true? Okay, so 3 of the statements are true. Which one is not true? Yo, 3 out of, I'm starting to think you guys are doing this intentionally. How's it possible that we've gotten 3 out of 4 every time? Okay, cool. So let's see the answers that we got. So remember the definition of an array. So the definition of the array that we saw on that first slide on arrays, the definition is that an array is a data structure in which the items are homogeneous and contiguous. Okay, so homogeneous, all of the items are the same inside an array, and contiguous, they are all next to each other. So these two statements, items are stored in contiguous memory, that's true just by definition. Items are homogeneous, also true by definition of an array. This fourth one, glad no one picked that because I told you that earlier in the lecture, earlier in the quiz, right? Arrays provide instantaneous access to all of their items. That's one of the huge advantages of arrays. And arrays are dynamically sized. That's false. What do I mean by that? When we change the size of an array, like when we insert another item, so if we have like 4 items initially and we want to insert another item, we have to create a new array. It can't just dynamically change its size the way a linked list can. Because it has to be contiguous, you need enough space in memory to actually hold the size of your array, which means you'd have to create like a new array. So yeah, nicely done. Cool. I'm pretty happy with how that went. I think, yeah, the majority got it right on every single time. Chris, wrecking as usual. Not sure how there are 5 participants when, oh, but actually close tie. This has happened quite a few times. So like very close tie, only 100 points difference between first and second. But yeah, everyone did pretty well. I take it Snuggles joined late. But yeah, cool. Nicely done, guys. Happy with that. So yeah, that was what, 4 out of 5. That's really good. And this was 3 out of 5, also very good. Or maybe depends, I guess, how the scoring works. But it could have been also 4 out of 5, I suppose. Perhaps. Okay. Cool. Anyway, so on with today's lecture. Okay, so there's some setup that I want us to do before today's lecture because you guys are going to be programming a little bit along with me. Okay, I think that's probably the, welcome Chico. Glad you could make it. So I see AB hasn't joined us yet. Okay, I'll remember. Okay, so cool. I've got a folder here. Okay, I've just got a place open on my computer and I want you guys to do the same thing that I'm going to do. Okay, so that you can follow along with how we're going to go through this lecture, because it's going to be more practical. It's going to be very practical, I guess, not more practical. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you could create this folder on your desktop or wherever. I'm just going to create a new folder called site. Okay, so just do the same on your computer, create a folder called site. You can technically call it whatever you want, like the name of your website, okay, your dream website, whatever, just call it site, okay. Whatever your site's name is going to be. So go ahead and create that folder. And we need to create 3 files inside this folder, 3. Okay, 3 files in order to get through this lecture. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how we're going to create these files. So you need to open up a text editor, okay, a text editor. So if you are on a Windows computer, I assume most of us are using Windows computers, the text editor is called Notepad. So you can open up Notepad and it'll give you something like this. You could also, if you're on a Mac, the text editor will be called Text Edit. Okay, Text Edit. But the point is, it's like this file where you just, these things where you just edit a text document. Okay. If you're fancy, if you've done some programming before, you might have something on your computer called Notepad++. And if you have that, that'll work too. You can open it up in that as well. Also, after the lecture, or maybe even during the break, or like if you get into this and you want to work on it more, then I recommend, if you're on a Windows computer, go ahead and install Notepad++ because it will help with this kind of thing. Okay, but yeah. Point is, open up your text editor, and we are going to create some new documents. Okay, so I'm going to say, so I'm going to open up a new document. There we go. So you see I've got like untitled document 1 and untitled document 2. I'm going to push Control S. You could also go to the top somewhere and hit save as. Okay, for me it's in the top right. But on your Windows computer, it'll probably be like save as, like file save as, something like that, okay? So you're going to click save as, and it'll open up a little window like this. Again, it'll look slightly different for you, but it'll be sufficiently similar that this will make sense. Okay. So what we're going to do, you're going to go to the folder that we created. So mine was called site, whatever yours is called. You're going to navigate to that folder. So there the folder is. You're going to navigate to that folder. You're going to create a file called index.html. So here in the name, I'm going to type index.html. So where you specify the name of the thing you're saving, you're going to type index.html. On a Windows computer, it'll probably be somewhere at the bottom here. Okay. Now, you don't click save yet. The thing is, you have, and guys, do this because it will break and then we'll all have trouble. So make sure there'll be a drop-down item here. Okay. There'll be a drop-down menu somewhere in this window that has all text files. And it might also say something like .txt inside it, like that, okay? Like I just typed into the chat. So you need to make sure that that option says all files, not all text files, all files, okay? Why do we have to do that? If that dropdown says all text files, it's not going to take .html as the extension. It's going to append, it's going to add .txt automatically, and that'll break everything. Okay, so you need to make sure that you select all files in that little drop-down menu, and then we're good. Then you can click save. All right, and that's going to create that little HTML document. All right, now we have to do that a couple of more times because we need to, like I said, we need to create 3 files. Okay. So we're going to create another file. We're going to say create new document. For you, it'll be like file new probably. We're going to save the second document. And this document is going to be called style.css. Style.css. So our first document was called index.html. This document is going to be called style.css. Okay, style.css. So I'm going to put that there. So style.css. Okay, like so. Again, sorry, I clicked on the thing, so it selected that as the name, style.css. Now, again, make sure that you've selected all files, not all text files, and then you can click save. Okay, style.css. And that's going to create the next file that we need. And the last one we need is going to be called script.js. Script.js. Okay, script.js. So I'm going to hit create new documents in the top left there. For you, it'll be like file new probably. And then we'll say, okay, we're going to say script.js, script.js. Again, make sure that you select all files and not all text files. And then you're going to hit save. Okay, and those are the 3 files we need. Why are we creating these 3 files? Well, we are going to use these 3 files to make a simple web page. Okay. We're not gonna make it run on a server yet, although we will get to that. For now, it's just gonna be a simple web page that runs on our computer locally. And yeah, so that's why we created these files. Okay, so hopefully you all have that set up. And now we'll do some simple stuff to make sure that it's working how it should for you. Okay, cool. So I've got index.html open, index.html, and we'll come back to that in a bit. Okay, so you can see I've got index.html open. Okay, so this is editing index.html. Okay, cool. Now onto the lecture. Once we've done that little setup, again, guys, if you have any questions, if you're having trouble following with the thing, don't worry about it. Feel free to ask me, and I'll do my best to answer. Although obviously it's difficult without seeing exactly what it is you're doing. But if you follow those things, make sure you select all files on the dropdown, then things should work out. But we'll test it in a little bit. Okay, so we are going to be learning about web page development and just web development in general. This lecture is more focused on web page development, so you'll understand the distinction a little bit better later on, like as we move through the lecture. But there are some, what's cool is that web applications are pretty universal at the moment. So what's nice is that you guys probably know some of this already. So for example, does anyone know, what does www stand for? And if you would like, you can also, I created the file, but don't know what to do from. Oh, don't worry, Yusuf. After you've created the file, that's fine. We'll go back to the files and use them in a little bit. So yeah, once you've created the file, don't worry about anything else. We'll get back to it in a bit. Okay. Cool. So you say World Wide Web. That's 100% correct. I'm not gonna ask you. Welcome, Abongwe. Glad you could join us. Okay, cool. So we're up to sort of normal attendance. Okay, cool. So cool. I won't ask you for a formal definition or anything, so we'll get to that later. But you guys know what you guys have at least some idea of what the World Wide Web is, even if it's not formalized yet. And how does the World Wide Web identify specific pages and websites? Does anyone know that? Like, how does it identify like a specific web page or a specific website? Do you know what the thing we use to identify a specific page is? What is it called? Does anyone know that? I need your assistance in creating the files. Should I create this on platform or I have to do it on my laptop? So yeah, do it on your laptop, like on your desktop, or like on just a standard computer. Yeah, it's not a phone or anything. Do it on my laptop. Oh, so you're saying you're accessing Zoom on your laptop, so you might have to close the Zoom meeting. I think you could like move the Zoom meeting into a side panel and work on your laptop at the same time. If that's not comfortable for you, then feel free to access the meeting on your cell phone or something and then work on your laptop. That might work as well. Cool. So guys, does anyone know how does the World Wide Web identify a specific page? I'll ask you in a different way. Okay, I'll ask you in a slightly different way. What do I send you when I want to get you to a specific page on the World Wide Web? What do I send you? Does anyone know? After www, would you use a page link? I send you a page link, exactly, an HTML. So in a way, Chris, HTML is the web page itself. That's what's defining the web page. That's not how I identify it, though. That's not how I point you to it. So link is correct, Taffy, in a way, but there is a more formal name for that. Do you guys know what the formal term, the real term is for a link? Does anyone know? Or at least the acronym or the abbreviation rather. What's the abbreviation for like the full abbreviation for a link? A link. HTML. Okay, we'll see. HTTP. Interesting. Okay, so we are saying relevant things, but no, not HTML and not HTTP. But we are. You guys are in the correct sort of space. But yeah, you see, you have some intuition about these already because we use the World Wide Web all the time, right? But what we're going to do at the beginning of this section is formalize that understanding a little bit. A web page. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we're all close. We're all close. Let's see. Let's sort of formalize this for us. Okay. So what is the World Wide Web? Okay. The World Wide Web is a collection of interconnected hypertext documents. These hypertext documents are called web pages. Okay, so what is a hypertext document? Hypertext is just we'll say you guys will see better now later, but it's sort of like a tag language. Okay, so it's a fairly simple programming language interpretable by both humans and computers. Okay, essentially it's a templating language. Okay, so it's like a text document but slightly more advanced. It gives you slightly more control over where things are and how things work. Okay. But the main thing you must understand is that they're interconnected hypertext documents. So they're the special kind of documents that can point to each other. Okay, how do they point to each other though? How do they point to each other? Each hypertext document, each web page is identified by what we call a link. Okay, we call it a link in common parlance. Its full name though is URL, a uniform resource locator. Okay, a uniform resource locator. They were once upon a time called universal resource locators, but they thought that actually it's not identifying things in the whole universe. That's a bit arrogant. So they changed it to uniform resource locator. Okay, so cool, URL. That's what we call a link. Okay, like that little link I send you, it links to a web page. The web page is a hypertext document. The URL is just linking to a web page. Okay, and cool. So that's where we are currently. So the web page is a hypertext document. The URL points to the hypertext documents. Okay. So hopefully we're comfortable with that. And this is what a URL looks like. You've seen lots of these in your lives, right? You've seen a lot of URLs in your life. I'm going to close that thing there. Okay. You've seen lots of URLs in your life, but there's a structure to these. Okay. They identify web pages. They identify web pages on the internet. This particular URL is the URL that points to the slide that we are currently in. Like the set of Google slides that we are currently in, this URL is the same. I guess they use temporary URLs, but whatever. This is a URL to a set of Google slides. And cool. So we're going to go through the different parts of this URL and understand what it is. So Taffy, you mentioned HTTP. That's what's at the beginning of the URL. Okay, HTTP. What that is a protocol. It's called the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Okay, now the name tells you what it is. Okay, the name tells you what it is. So we have these hypertext documents, which we call web pages. Each one is identified by a URL. At the beginning of the URL, we specify the protocol, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Now, why is it called the Hypertext Transfer Protocol? Because it's a set of rules. That's what a protocol is. So it's a set of rules dictating how we transfer hypertext documents. Okay, that's all it is. A set of rules, like basically a flow chart, like with a set of steps that you follow. And if you follow those steps, you'll be able to transfer hypertext documents. Okay, that's all that is. So HTTP defines the rules of how browsers communicate with servers according to a client-server model. A browser sends a request for a particular resource. So the browser will ask for a particular URL or ask for a particular resource that is at a particular URL. So that is identified with a particular URL. And the server will just send the response back to the browser. Okay, so we have clients and browsers, and then we have servers, which are like just bigger computers, if you like, that we all access, and that serve us hypertext documents, okay, or web pages. All right, so HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, it is the set of rules or a procedure defining how we transfer hypertext documents. There is also HTTPS, which is just a secure encrypted version of HTTP. Okay, but they're both just protocols, a set of rules dictating how we transfer hypertext documents. So that's what the first little part of the URL is. This next little part defines the web server that we are accessing. Okay, that next little bit defines the web server that we are accessing. Okay, and that's all a web server is just a host. Okay, they host particular resources and they respond to requests. Okay, we'll understand more about what a request is in a bit, but that basic understanding is okay. And this next bit is the path. So there's a little bit more to it, which we'll understand later in chapter 4. But basically, you can think of this for now as the path to the resource we are requesting. And it's similar to how this works on your home computer, right? For example, this little text file, index.html, okay, this little index.html text file. If I select the properties, you can see that this is at a specific path. It's at /home, /Joshua, /desktop, /work, /MTA Saturday, /site. Okay, that is the location, the path to this particular resource. Now, all the server is a big computer. Okay, so like us, it has a path to the resources that it is storing on that server. Okay, on itself. All right. So this is specifying the path that I'm accessing on the server. Okay, so that's all a URL is, guys. That's a link. Okay, those are the three different components. We've got the protocol, we've got the server, and we've got the path to the resource we are requesting from that server. Okay, so hopefully that formalizes your understanding of what the World Wide Web is. And now what we're doing in this lecture is a deep dive into what hypertext documents are. Okay, so we've said the World Wide Web is a collection of interconnected hypertext documents that we call web pages. But what is a web page? How do we create a web page? What goes into it? Okay, and the answer is sort of threefold. Okay. So HTTP, as we've seen, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, defines the rules of how we transfer hypertext documents. But how are hypertext documents actually created? And like I said, the answer is somewhat threefold. Okay, how do we create hypertext documents? We use three different languages. We use HTML, that is the hypertext markup language. Okay, what is a markup language? A markup language is a language that is designed to be both readable for humans and for computers. So it has some disadvantages because it needs to be readable for both. So it's not focused in the way that other languages are, but it also has an advantage, right? Like it's easy to write and easy to read. Okay. There's also CSS, that stands for Cascading Style Sheets, which we'll learn about later. And lastly, there is JavaScript. Okay, these three languages together are how we define hypertext documents on the World Wide Web. Okay, yeah, we are going to get through all three of them building our little web page. And you'll notice if you look at the three files that I asked you guys to create over here, we have index.html. So that is the hypertext markup language. Okay, we've got script.js. So that is JavaScript. And we've got style.css. So CSS, that's cascading style sheets. Okay, so we've got these three files. In it, we are going to use those three different languages to create a simple web page. Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to start with HTML. Okay, this is the sort of building block, the foundation of a web page, okay, is HTML. So HTML is what we call a text and tag-based language. As I said, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So remember what that abbreviation stands for, Hypertext Markup Language. It is a text and tag-based language. So it has a bunch of tags, and we're going to go through the meaning of each of these little tags, but you'll see that it is very easy to read and very easy to write. Okay, so it's easy for humans to read, and computers can read it as well. That's its big advantage. That's why we call it a markup language. Okay, so what HTML is used to define is the template and the layout of the web page. It can do some other basic stuff, but usually we just use it for that, template and layout. And then JavaScript and CSS handle the other stuff like style and functionality. Okay, so HTML is used to define the template and the layout. And we're going to go through some of the common tags that are used in HTML. Okay, but in order to do that, obviously we need our HTML documents. So what I'm going to do, if you jump over here, you should have HTML open in the HTML documents, index.html. Index.html is what I want you to have open in Notepad. But guys, you can also open HTML in your web browser. Okay, so I'm going to do both, and I'm going to show you how you can do both. Okay, so you can right click on the index.html documents. Okay, by default, it depends on like what version of Windows you're using and how things have been set up on your computer. But by default, .html documents will be opened either by your text editor or by your browser. Okay, one of the two. In order to open it in the other one as well. So we need the HTML document open in your text editor, but we also need it open in your browser. What do I mean by browser? That is Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, even Opera, like whatever browser you're using, Microsoft Edge, whatever. So you can click open with other application or open with ... Okay, you can click that. And somewhere on this list should be your browser. You can see Google Chrome is recommended in mine. If either your text editor or your browser is not recommended in that list, you can hit view all applications or view other options, something like that, or view more applications. And then you'll be able to select your text editor in Google Chrome. Okay, So I'm going to open this in Google Chrome. So you see I've selected Google Chrome. I'm going to say open it in Google Chrome. And you can see that the URL, or the path in this case, because it's just on my computer, that Google Chrome is currently opening is home Joshua desktop work. It's the index.html file that we just created. And you can see currently it's empty. And it should be empty because you can see in the text editor that index.html is totally empty. Okay. So that's the first thing we need. I need you to have index.html open in both your browser and in your text editor. So I'll give you some time to do that, guys. And if you're having any trouble, let me know, and hopefully I can help you out. It might be easier if you describe what's happening through your mic as well, rather than just typing, because that I might be able to help you more easily. And also the rest of the class, if they're having similar trouble to you, they'll also be able to follow through with that help. Okay. So yeah, please. Let me know. So does everyone have that sort of set up so far? You've got it open in your browser and you have it open in your text editor.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. I don't know. I just have the folders open.
Okay, you have the folder open so far, Taffy.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So tell me what. So I'll go to that position as well. So I'm going to close index.html in my browser. Okay, so you see I just did that. Oh, sorry, I didn't just do that. There you go. I just closed it. Okay, and I'm also going to close the text document. Okay. So now I'm in the folder, same as you. Okay, I've got index.html, script.js, and style.css. Okay, I'm going to double click index.html. Okay, I'm just going to double click it.
Okay.
Okay. So when I double clicked it, it opened in my text editor. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what happened for you when you double clicked it? What happened?
Well, I have script.js and style.cs inside the index.html folder.
Inside? Oh, no. The index.html is also a text file. The folder must be called site.
Oh, yes.
So go to your text editor and create a text file called index.html. And remember to select all files. Okay, all files. Don't just save immediately. Okay, and then hopefully that'll solve your trouble. And also maybe rename the folder from index.html to site, or whatever the name of your website is going to be. Okay.
And then HTML. Do I just say create new folder?
No. So just say save. So you create exactly how you created script.js and style.css. You'll be creating index.html.
Okay, but they're all folders.
No. They're all files. You can see mine are text files here. They must all be files.
So how do I change it from a file to a folder to a file?
Okay. I'll show you here. So what I clicked. So if you open up your text editor, you have Notepad open.
Mm-hmm.
You have Notepad open. Okay, cool. You need to say new documents. Okay, so like a new text document, a new untitled document. So you might click File New, for example. Okay, Do you have that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So then you're going to hit, you can probably just hit Control S, or you can click File Save As. Okay, when you have that new fresh text document open, and it'll open a screen like this. Do you get that? It'll look slightly different, but it'll have the same options.
Okay.
So do you get that, Taffy?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you hit save as, and it opened this kind of file here.
Yes.
Or this kind of screen. So then you can type the name of your document somewhere, whatever the name of your text documents is going to be. And we are going to call it, so you'll call it index.html. Okay, index.html. Now I already have something called index.html. So I'm just going to call mine home.html, but you'll say index.html. Okay. Okay, cool. Now, the only other thing we have to do, so you have to select the folder that you've created already called site or did you change your folder's name, like the outer folder? The
Yeah, I did
outer
that.
folder should be called site, like mine is. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Cool. So then you can go to that folder, just navigate to that folder, like there mine is. So you see there's site, and just select
Yeah.
that folder. Okay. So it
Okay.
already exists. You don't have to create a new folder.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All types.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I do the same thing for style CSS and script.js.
And wait. So did you've hit save already? You created this file.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I did save.
You didn't save yet.
No, I did.
Okay, cool. But make sure it must be, must have selected all files, not all text files. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you selected all files and then you hit save, because then it'll work. So basically this documents must not have, you can check inside the folder, it must not have .txt after it. So it mustn't be like index.html.txt, it must just be index.html. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so hopefully we've got that. Then, so you'll already have it open in your text editor. Okay. But so now go to the folder where index.html is created. You can do it for script.js and style.css as well, maybe in the break or something. But for now, if you navigate to the folder where you saved the index.html text file, or file rather, because it's a .html file, not a .text file. But if you go to where the file is saved and you double click it, you open it. Where does it open?
I'm in the web page in a Google
It opened
form.
in your browser. It opened in your
Yeah.
browser. Okay, cool. So you see by default, so that's just our computers being different. That's fine. You haven't done anything wrong. Mine by default opened in the text file instead, okay, which is fine. If I want to open it in the browser, so in your case, if you want to open it in the text editor, all you have to do is right click on it and hit open with ... or open with other application. There'll be some option in the little thing when you right click on it that says open with, and you just have to open it in the other thing. So for me, it opened by default in the text editor. So I'm going to open it in Google Chrome, okay, which is my browser. And there we go. So I now have it open in the browser as well. So this is what you see, Taffy.
Yeah. So
Okay.
can I open it in Notepad++?
Or in Notepad, yeah, as well. So go ahead and open it in Notepad as well, yeah. Okay. So make sure that you have it open in both the browser and in the text editor, okay? Whatever text editor you're using. It can be Notepad, it can be Notepad++, it can be whatever you want, okay? Cool. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful for other people as well. And yeah, if by default it opened in your browser, then you are 100% doing the correct thing, because that means it is being read as an HTML document. So that's great. Okay.
I still have problems on my side.
Okay, cool. Can you talk me through it, Clark? So what's up?
Right. I've gone actually to the Notepad.
Okay.
And now when I want to create the folder, it doesn't give me that. I actually right click to find, maybe I can find a new, then I create the folder. I'm not seeing that particular icon there.
Okay, interesting. So if you so where do you want to put the folder on your computer? If you just sort of minimize Notepad for now, so just put it aside and just go to where you want to create the folder on your computer. Okay, so I wanted it to create it here in MTA Saturday. So I have a folder on my computer called MTA Saturday, and I created a folder called site. You can literally just hit new folder and create the folder that way. So whatever you want.
So you mean I just go to the file, then I say new?
To file, then you say new. So you're still working in Notepad, right?
Yes, I'm still in the Notepad.
Okay.
Yes.
So we need to, do you have a place currently already? So before you create the text file, the HTML and CSS and JS file in Notepad, you need to make sure that you have a folder on your computer to save them in. Do you have that?
I have to create a folder. Not yet. I haven't created the folder.
Okay, yeah. So like maybe go to your desktop and create the folder first. So go there and hit like a new folder and just create like a folder called sites or whatever. Okay, you can give it whatever name you want. The name of the folder doesn't matter too much. Just make sure that you can find it easily again. So put it in like an obvious place for you. So like on the on the desktop or like wherever you know, frequently go.
Okay.
Cool. So once you've created that, then go into Notepad and say create new document, and then hit save as or Control S, and that'll open the screen, and then you can
Okay,
just save
so
inside that folder you just created.
So I create there in the first one is index.html.
Yeah, index.html. And for now, you can leave it with that. For now, we can just use index.html. The other two, once you've created the first one, it'll be easy for you to create more. So
Right there.
the first
Okay,
one will be index.html. You just must make sure that you select the folder you just created, like on your desktop or wherever it is. So mine was called site. So I just navigated to that folder here. Make sure you select all files and not all text files. So there'll be a drop down somewhere on this little screen inside Notepad that has all files and all text files. You must make sure you select all files and then hit save.
Okay. So after creating this, I've created it on the desktop. I go to the Notepad now.
Yeah, so you've created the folder on the desktop.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, now go to Notepad.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm on the Notepad now.
Okay, cool. Actually, try just hitting Control S. When you hit Control S, does it open a file like this? Or like a...
Yes. Okay, it's just opening there. Oh, yes. Okay, yes, I've done that.
Okay, cool. So you've got this, you've got it like on my screen, you've got that open.
Right, I do have this one. It opens, it says the file name .txt.
Okay, cool. So we need to change that now. So what we'll do, navigate to the folder you created on your desktop. So like make sure that you're saving to that folder, exactly like when you're saving Word documents or whatever. Then change the file name. So it gave you that default file name. I'm not sure what it was, but it would be something.txt. You must just change it to index.html. Okay. I already have a file called index.html, so I'm going to make mine home.html. Okay. So I'll make it home.html. Home.html. Like so.
Yes, I've done. Then I save it with which type? Text documents, or
you must make sure you select all files. So there'll be a drop down and make sure you select all files. So it must just have a dot, like it'll be the option that just has like a dot in brackets usually. Mine doesn't, but as long as it says all files, it'll be okay.
Yes.
But not all text files. Make sure it's not all text files and then hit save. Okay.
Yes, I've done that.
Okay, cool. Now, when you double click, so if you go to that folder on your desktop and index.html will be there, what happens when you double click index.html?
If I double click there, it gives me the file called index.
But does it open it in, where does it open it? Does it open it in your web browser, like in Microsoft Edge or something?
Yeah, it's opening actually in yes, in the browser.
In the browser. Okay, then it's perfect. Yes. Then you're in the right place, Clark. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, so there we go. That was some setup. We're gonna, okay, we've still got 3 minutes before we must have a break. Hopefully everyone with those two sort of things happening, everyone's pretty okay with the file stuff now. So we're gonna go through some common tags. So essentially we're just gonna start typing inside our text document here. So you have index.html open. Keep it open. If it's open in your browser, like here, make sure it stays open in your browser. You can leave it there. Okay, so leave it open in the browser, but you need it open in Notepad as well. Okay, you need it open in Notepad as well. And in order to, if you closed Notepad, then you can just go to the folder where you created index.html, right-click, hit open with other application, and select Notepad as the option you want to open it with. If it's not available, if Notepad is not available as the option, you could select view all applications and you'll be able to select Notepad from the list that it gives you, okay? But if you already have it open in Notepad, then that's great. So we're just gonna edit it in Notepad in a fairly simple way, okay? Now, all HTML documents, just like in C#, have a somewhat basic structure, okay? They have some initial points where we always start, okay? And the first point where we start is we have this special tag at the top here, And don't worry, I'm going to post everything I type inside the chat, okay? Where you just say doc type HTML, okay? So what that does is you can see, so I'll show you here now quickly. So just to show you what this is doing. So you can see currently in mine, it might not look the same as yours. Again, different computers handle it differently, but that's why we have this structure so that everything can be standardized. You can see in my index.html, in my case, this might not be the case on your computer. Your computer might automatically view all .html files as hypertext documents. But you can see my computer still, when it sees the .html documents, it's got this particular icon. You see the icon it's using? It's like the icon for a text document. You can see the icon there, right? It's just an icon for a text document. Watch what happens. So inside the first line of the text file, the first line of index.html, I'm going to type these left-facing and right-facing arrows, so like less than and greater than. And I'm going to say exclamation points, doc type in all caps, and then I'm just going to type HTML in little letters like that, okay? And I'm going to hit save. So Control S or file save, whatever. So Control S to save. And now when I go back to my folder, you can see that the icon for index.html has changed. It's now like, it looks like a little URL, right? Or like a little tag. Okay, it looks like a little tag. Okay, so you see the icon changed. So all that first line is doing is telling my computer and all other operating systems that this is an HTML document. Okay, so that's all that first line is doing. It's the same as the basic structure of a C# program. It just exists to standardize things. So I posted the little line that I typed in index.html into the chat, and I'll keep doing that. Okay, I'll do the same for every line. Okay, so that's the first tag that we need in our text, in our HTML documents. Okay, to tell the operating system that this is an HTML document. Now it can get more interesting. So there are a bunch of tags in HTML. I suppose, you know what, let's take a little break. If anyone is still having trouble setting up the 3 different files and having them open in the text editor and in the browser, please let me know, because we can solve those problems during the break. But otherwise, let's break until 10:05, and then we'll come back and keep working through web pages. So yeah, we'll break until 10:05, and I'll see you guys now. Yeah, if you have any questions, post them in the chat or tell me now, and we can work through those. But quickly.
Sorry, George.
Yeah, what's up, Taffy?
So I saw test 3 and 4 on the Bryanston group. Should we continue with that?
So I'm gonna give you test 3. So we haven't written test 3. Hey, we haven't, no, because we finished test 3 last lecture. What I was thinking of doing is asking you guys to work through the knowledge assessment of chapter 3. So it's on page 81. So you've got it in the PDF that was sent on the group. But in fact, you, Taffy, will have the textbook as well. So you could just work through that, and then I'll send you the mock test to do yourselves, and then we'll review it in the class. So you'll do it as like homework. The reason for that is so that we can save some lecture time and work through things a bit faster. Rather than using lecture time to write the test, if you understand.
Okay.
But yeah, we will work through the mock tests and the knowledge assessments for chapter 3 as well, because it is important to study. But yeah.
So have we done test 1 and 2?
So this class has done chapter 1 and 2's mock test. I mean, knowledge assessments, not the mock tests. But yeah, we haven't done the chapter 3 mock knowledge assessment or mock test yet.
Okay, no problem.
But yeah, this class is finished from chapter 1 to chapter 3, and this is now the introduction to chapter 4.
Okay, no.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm still having small issues.
Okay, cool. Clark, what's up?
All right. I've actually opened the browser for the folder that I've created, the index.html, but it doesn't give me any icons so that I can actually maybe add something or do something or edit something.
It doesn't give you any icon.
Yeah.
So So I think it's okay. So the icon was just an example to show you. If yours is showing you something like this instead, that's fine.
Okay, so So what it means is I actually have to like write this command on the notepad.
Yeah, so inside your notepad, the text editor, you'll just type that line as the first thing
Yeah.
in your text document.
Okay. Okay.
And if it's open in the browser, it'll still be open in the browser, so you can see we haven't changed anything here. But
Okay.
don't worry too much now, because we'll edit the HTML to actually display something in the browser. And once we edit the HTML inside the notepad, so we'll edit the HTML inside notepad, and then we'll open it in the browser, and it'll look different to show that we are doing it correctly. Okay. I still don't get what to do. I've created a normal folder called site, but I don't know what to do from there. Okay, Yusuf. So you've created a folder called site like this. Okay, so I'm sorry, Yusuf is posting in the chat now that he's also having trouble. So you've created a folder called site like this, okay, but you have nothing in the folder yet. So all you have to do, okay, is open up your notepad or your text editor. Okay, you'll have create a new document in that text editor. So something like file new. Inside that new document, so you can see this is an untitled document 1. Yours will look quite similar in Notepad. You must just push Control S to save. Okay, Control S. So the Control key plus S. Okay. You'll type the name of the file you want to create, which for you will be index.html, because that's the first thing you want to create. They'll have a list of all the folders and stuff on your computer. Make sure you go to that folder you've created, that folder called site that you've created. You want to go to that folder, so there mine is, and you want to select that folder because that's the folder you're going to be saving into. And this is exactly the same as when you're creating a Word document or anything like that, okay? Exactly the same as all other documents. It's just that this is a .html. Okay, so that must be the name that you specify. The file name must be index.html. You select your folder called site that you want to save in. Make sure there'll be a drop down somewhere that says all text files, and then it'll maybe have .txt in brackets. It might not have the .txt. You don't have to worry about it if it doesn't, but it'll say like something like all text files. Make sure you select all files, okay? Not all text files. You must select all files, okay? And then you can hit save, okay? To save that text document. I mean that HTML document. I don't know why I keep saying hypertext documents. Okay. Does that help, Yusuf? Can you post? Are you doing good? If not, you can turn on your mic. I guess one of you could even share your screen and I could talk you through the trouble you're having. But yeah, let me know if you're okay now, Yusuf. Okay. Okay, let me know how it goes, Yusuf, after you've done it. how's it coming, Yusuf? Any trouble or anything? Okay. So, my notepad doesn't give me the option to create a new document. Okay, I'll tell you what, Yusuf, I think one way to possibly do this, since a lot of people are having trouble, we can see what it's like. I think you're on a Windows computer, right? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to allow you to share. Okay, so can you share your screen, Yusuf? And then I can talk you through it that way. So if you open up the Zoom meetings, cool, I see you're doing it, great stuff. Okay, so delete that. So you seem to be in a new document. Click File. So click File, Save As. Okay, yeah. Cool. So where are we? So where did you created a folder called Sites, you said, Yusuf? So if you could go to that folder on your computer. So you see on the left there, you've got all your options. You might have to scroll up to find desktop, hey? To scroll up in that menu. Okay, yeah, I see it. There we go. Cool stuff. Okay, so double click it. So open it up. There we go. So there we go. Make the file name index.html. Lowercase I. So index.html. Cool. And then save as type. So select all files. No, don't click save. So yeah, click the drop down. Select all files like so. And then you can click save. Cool. So now it'll be done. So now minimize this and go to your desktop. Oh, it's lagging a little bit. So I don't know if that's on your side as well. Not sure why, but I can no longer, your screen's no longer sharing ready for me. Because if you've minimized, I can't see anymore. Maybe stop sharing and start sharing again, Yusuf. That might help. No, it is working. Okay, cool. So yeah, hit minimize. Oh, I think what's happening is you didn't share your whole screen. You only shared the text file, I think, or you only shared this app. So maybe like stop sharing and share the whole desktop if possible or something. I'm not sure if that's will work. I don't know. But it should be working now. So if you go and double click the text document on your browser, it should work. Okay. Cool. Let me check the chat quickly. Okay, I see you stopped sharing now. But that should be okay, Yusuf. That should work now. So if you double click, okay, cool. So when you double clicked index.html on your desktop, it opened in your browser. Cool, great stuff. So I'm gonna share my screen again. Cool. So yeah, so then Yusuf, in your text editor, so in Notepad, inside that document we just created, you can type that line. So doc type HTML, and then just hit Control S to save from now on. You can just hit Control S and that'll save your most recent changes. Okay, but we'll see now if everything's working. So what I'm going to do, there's more tags. So there's lots of tags in HTML, and we're just going to go through a list of tags quickly so that we can get something working, so that we can all make sure it's working in our browser. Okay, so the first tag we need to know is HTML. Okay, now there's specific rules in HTML that are almost always applied. Obviously, there's exceptions to everything, but we're going to say HTML/HTML. Don't worry, I'll post every change I make in the chat. So I'll post this in the chat now. Okay, there it is. So you can see it says HTML and then /HTML. So that's the standard structure for HTML tags. Okay, you have the name of the tag inside the left facing and right facing arrow. And then you have another tag that's exactly the same, except there's a / in front of the name. So this is like opening the tag, and this is closing the tag. Exactly how if you guys remember in C#, exactly how the curly brackets, whenever you open a curly bracket, you have to close a curly bracket. Whenever you open a normal bracket, you have to close a normal bracket. So you always open the tag and then close the tag later on. Okay, so that's the standard structure. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to add another tag, and don't worry, I will explain the tags, but for now, I want us to get to a place where you'll be able to see your changes in the browser. Okay, that's where we want to get. So inside the HTML tag, so I'll post this structure again inside the chat. Yes, you have to write all of it. You have to write all of it. Although by write, I don't know what you mean, write. You have to type it all in the text document, Yusuf. So I'm going to post in the chat what I've got in my HTML document now. So I've got doc type HTML, then I've got the opening HTML tag and the closing HTML tag. And inside the HTML tags, I have an opening body tag and I have a closing body tag. Okay. So what is the body? The body, exactly like in any other documents, is the body of the web page. Okay. And inside that, I'm going to open up one tag. I know I'm introducing you to these tags very quickly, but you'll see why I'm doing it quickly now. Okay. Inside the body tag, I'm going to put P and then /P. Okay. And inside the P tag over there, I'm just going to write, hello, this is my web page. Or actually, I'll say finally getting started with chapter 4. Finally getting started with chapter 4. And I'll post in the chat what my paragraph tag looks like. It is inside the body tag, okay? So between the two body, like that's little space in the body tag, that's where the P tag goes. And P stands for paragraph, okay? So that is a paragraph. I'm going to hit Control S. Make sure that you always save, okay? You can also click File, Save. I'm going to hit Control S to save my changes. And then I'm going to open up my browser. So this is index.html in the browser. I'm going to hit refresh, okay? You can, to reload the page, you can also push Control R, okay? Control R to refresh. And you can see in my browser, the paragraph that I typed is displaying in the browser. Okay. So this is where I want you guys to get to. So what I'll do, I'm going to post again in the chat. I'll post, so I'm just going to post like a line of A's so that it separates what I'm typing now. And I'm just going to post the full from doc type HTML to /HTML. That's exactly what I've got in my HTML document. If you put that inside Notepad, so if you add that to your text document, your hypertext document, your HTML documents, and you save it, Control S, and you go to where it's open in your browser and hit Control R or reload the page, you'll get that paragraph displaying in your browser. Okay. So can you tell me if you've gotten there or if you're having trouble? If anyone's having trouble, please let me know and we can fix the trouble.
Can you just post the code?
It's in the chat, so I can put it again from doctype HTML to /HTML. It's in the chats already. Okay, has everyone got it to where it's displaying this paragraph in your browser? If it's not, then we can do the same thing we did with Yusuf, where you share your screen, because it's likely that other people are having similar problems to you if you're having trouble. But how's it going, everyone? Taffy, have you got it? Clark, have you got it?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just typing it now.
Okay, cool.
You said after typing, then what should we do?
So after you've typed up this in your text document, hit Control S to save, or just click File Save. So just save your changes.
Yes.
Okay. Then go to the browser that you had index.html open in. Okay. Or just double click index.html in the folder to open it in the browser. You can do either. You just want to get it open in the browser and then hit reload.
I've saved, then I go to the browser.
Yeah.
Right. In the browser, what should I do?
You can hit refresh. So
refresh.
Or you can hit Control R to refresh as well.
Yes, I can see. Yeah.
Again, you can see the paragraph that you typed.
Yes, I can see it.
Perfect. Then you're in a good spot. You've got it working. Cool. Let me know if any of you are having trouble with that, and if you could, or if you want, you can share your screen and we can go through what's happening. Okay, I'll show you what my text document. I'll show you guys what my text document looks like, though. That's it. So doctype HTML, opening HTML tag, body tag, paragraph tag, which whatever paragraph you want to display. So I said finally getting started with chapter 4, you can put whatever you want there. Then you close the body tag and you close the HTML tag. Okay, so that's all we've got there. And all that'll do is display a paragraph in your browser. Okay, let me know when you guys are there. Chris, is it working for you? Abongwe, how's it going? Because you guys have been quiet. Cool, good stuff. Yusuf, have you got it? Taffy, what's up?
Yep, I'm done.
Okay, cool, sick. All right, I'm going to assume, unless you type otherwise or say otherwise, I'll continue. So hopefully that's all working for you guys. So there we go. Those are some basic HTML tags. So we have so currently in our code, we have an HTML tag, we have a body tag, and we have a paragraph tag. Okay, we don't have a head tag yet. Okay, but yeah, we'll keep working through this and see what goes on. Okay. So the HTML tag is just defining the scope of your HTML code. Okay, that's all it does. So everything that's inside that HTML tag, like the start and end, that's just your HTML code. Okay, that's just marking it out for your operating system and for your browser to understand. Okay, the body tag is marking what will be displayed on the body of the web page. Okay, and by body we mean this entire white bit here where our paragraph is displayed. That's in the body, but the entire thing, like all of this white screen, is the body of the page. Okay. So everything in the body tag will be taken as being a part of that body. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. That's all the body tag is doing. And all the paragraph tag is doing is marking a paragraph. Okay, that's literally it. It's just marking a paragraph. Okay. Now, there's also a head tag. So as you could probably predict, in most documents, there's a header and there's a body. Okay. The header is used to display meta information. So information about the web page. Okay. So just before the body tag over here, you see the body tag starts over there. Before that, okay, before where the body tag starts, I'm going to start a head tag. Head tag. Okay, so like that. So all the head tag is, whenever we open a tag, so I opened the head tag, okay, opened the head tag, and then I close the head tag. So I just posted it in chat, okay? I opened the head tag and then I close the head tag, all right? And that's always how we work with these tags. There's a couple of exceptions, but I'll point them out to you when we get there, okay? So what goes in the head? Basically anything that's not being displayed in the body of the site, okay? So a good example of something that might go in the header of an HTML document is the title of the page. Now, what we call the title in web development is the thing that's displaying on the tab in your browser. So you can see my tab is currently displaying index.html. I'm going to change the title in the I'm going to change the title tag inside the header. So inside the header, I'm going to type title and then /title. And inside the title tag, exactly like the paragraph tag, I'm going to type whatever title I want to display on the tab. So I'm going to make mine MTA Saturday. You can make yours whatever you want, okay? And once again, I'll post all of the code that I have here. So I'll post all of the code that I have here inside the chat, okay? So it starts at doctype HTML, okay? And I've got that little header tag with the title MTA Saturday. So once again, I'm going to hit Control S. So I'm going to click File, Save, or whatever to save my changes. I'm going to jump back to the browser and I'm going to hit Refresh. And you can see on the tab now, it says MTA Saturday. That is the title of my page. So that's the type of thing that goes in the header. Anything that's not displayed in the body, anything that's not 100% relevant to the format itself of the web page, but like information about the web page or anything like that. Okay. Right. Hopefully we're good on that. But you guys can see this page is looking, it's a bit boring for now. So what we want to do, we want to add some more zest. What I am going to do first is add another paragraph. Okay, I'm going to add another paragraph. So just hit Control S, Yusuf, to save. You can also in Notepad hit File, Save. File, Save. Similar to where we clicked File, Save As, just above it, there'll be a save. Okay. And then once it's saved, it won't automatically show in the browser. You have to go back to the browser and hit refresh, okay? You have to refresh so that it fetches your latest changes, okay? Have to hit refresh. And then all the changes should show there. Save it to. Well, it saves to the document that you're editing, Yusuf. It'll save to. So if you're in Notepad, whatever document you're editing, it'll save to that document by itself. It knows. Like once you've created it, it knows that that's the one you're editing. So all of the changes to index.html, when you hit Control S, will be saved to index.html. If I understand your question correctly. You want to share your screen again and we can work through it. Cool. Okay, cool. So remove the A there quickly. Okay, cool. So that can go. Now, so that was just like me marking where the code changes. Now, remember your paragraph tag must be inside the body. So if you highlight the paragraph tag there, just highlight it. Like mouse over it with your cursor. So you highlight exactly all of it, all of it. From the finally getting started all the way. So move up your mouse a little bit. There you go. Highlight all of it. Yeah, exactly. And then hit Control X or right click and hit cut. So either right click on it and push cut or hit Control X. Yeah, exactly. Now go to your body tag. Inside the body tag, inside the body tag. Okay, and right click and hit paste. Cool. So now that's in the right place. Okay, I see you're in an untitled document now currently though. So hit Control S, hit Control S. Cool. So navigate, it hasn't, what happened to your index.html? Because we're in desktop site. I don't know where it went, but that's okay. So the file name, stay in desktop site. So go to that folder, double click on it. Cool. Now backspace the .text, the star.txt, type index.html. Cool. Now, no, don't save yet. Don't save yet. Make sure you select save as type all file. There you go, all files. And now, there it is. There's your index. So click on index.html there. You click on it. And now hit save. And hit yes. Say yes. Okay, cool. Now always edit the code here. Okay, Yusuf. So all of your index.html, you see at the top there, it says index-notepad. So this is now editing the correct file. Now, if you go and open, so I don't think we'll be able to see because you're only sharing Notepad, I think. But if you now go and double click, so go to your desktop and double click on that index.html file, okay? And it'll open in your browser and you'll be able to see finally getting started with chapter 4 inside your browser, okay? So yeah, that's working. Okay, cool guys. So then, yeah, Yusuf, above the body tag. So above the body tag, look, if you take note of how it is on my screen, you can also just cut and paste or copy and paste that. So you put the header tag there. So the body tag that you have on yours is over there. And you're just going to put the header tag over there inside the HTML, but above the body. So that code that I just sent you in the chat. Okay. And then you'll be able to change the title of your web page as well. But it's not the biggest issue. You can always refer back to the lecture video and work through it. Okay. And that'll just change the title inside the browser. Cool. All right. Okay, what I'm going to do is add another paragraph tag just to demonstrate something to you guys. So underneath the finally getting started with chapter 4, I'm just going to hit enter and I'm going to type the, I'm going to create another paragraph tag. So P/P, and then I'm just going to type, we just finished bubble sort. Okay, we just finished bubble sort. Okay, we just finished bubble sort. Okay, I'm going to hit Control S to save those changes. And when I go back to Google Chrome in MTA Saturday, I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, and we see we just finished bubble sorts. Okay, let me add a full stop there at the end. Okay, full stop, and there we go. You can see that's my second paragraph. Okay, I'm just going to make the website a little bit more interesting. Okay. Now there are headers. Again, you guys don't have to remember all of this. I'm just showing it for like your benefit because this one bit, you must know paragraph tags, body tags, and head tags. This tag won't really be tested, but you can replace the paragraph. So if you replace the P on both sides with H1, H2, H3, H4, or H5, remember you have to replace both of them. So I changed this to H1. and I change the end P to H1 as well. So I just changed the first thing. And then I'm going to hit save. And when I come back here, you can see that made it like header 1. Okay, that's header 1. And I could make it header 2 if I wanted, and then it'll just be slightly smaller. Okay, now it's header 2. I'm going to leave it as header 2. That's a good start. That's a good size to me. Maybe even header 3. Let's see what header 3 looks like. Header 3. Okay, that's actually perfect. So I'm going to leave it like that. Okay. So you can see that we can change a bunch of things. That's the main thing. Okay. So cool. But that's paragraphs. That's boring. What we actually want is some images. Okay, so we're going to make the site much cooler now. We're going to add an image to the site. Okay, and yeah, so you can use whatever sort of GIFs you want, really. I think there's a nice one that I have in one of the other ones that we've created. So let me just jump over to that quick. Actually, we can always find one on the internet. So I'll show you how to find your own one. Okay. I'm going to make mine a GIF. You can make yours an image, though. It'll always work the same. So don't worry about it. But if you can find an image that is available at a public URL, then you'll be able to do this. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. So if you open up your browser, if you open up Google or something, and you search for particular images. So I'm going to search for Smurf GIF. Smurf GIF, okay? And you open up Google Images. So you'll get something like this, right? A page of images. I'm sure we're all pretty familiar with how Google works, I hope. Okay. If it's available at a public URL, like this one looks quite interesting. If it's available at a public URL, then you'll be able to use it, okay? I'll use this one though, because this one's quite cool, okay? So if we say, so how will we do this? You can see I've got it open like this. You're probably quite familiar with how that works. What I'm going to do is right click and say, we want to view just the image. So what I'm going to say is open image in new tab. You see that? So I right clicked on it, hit open image in new tab. You can also hit view image or copy image address. The point is you really want to get to a screen like this, okay, where it's just the image on the center of like this black screen, okay? So what I'll do, I'm going to post the link that I've got here. So that link, that URL will take you to this image, okay? Now notice, you can use whatever image you want, but it has to have the extension at the end, okay? It has to, you see this one says .gif. Whatever you use, it needs to be like .png or .jpg, or like at the end of the URL, it needs to be exactly pointing to the image itself. It can't be like this URL. It can't be just the URL from like this. This won't work because that's not an image. That's a URL with like a bunch of other things at it as well, okay? And so we can't display that. You need the image itself, okay? The image itself. Okay, so you can use whatever you want. You can also use the one that I've got there. So what this is saying is we have an image available at a public URL. That's all we've got here, okay? An image available at a public URL. Now, if you have an image available at a public URL, it's very easy to display it inside an HTML document. How we do it is we say, there is a tag called the image tag, image like that, okay? Image, it doesn't have an A or an E, okay? So it's image, but without the vowels, okay? Without the vowels. And using an image tag with what is called the source attribute, we will be able to point to any image on the internet. So I'm going to say image space source, but again, without the vowels. So src, source, equals, and then in quotation marks. So guys, what is that? You guys know this. What is those quotation marks? What does that mean? What am I giving this source attribute? What type am I setting it to? And you guys know this from C# even. What type am I setting it to with those little quotation marks? What is it? What is source? What is the source attribute?
String.
It's a string, precisely. And so inside that source attribute, I'm just going to put the URL to that full image. Okay. So that one that I just posted in the chat, let me go and get it from, there it is. So I'm going to Control C that public URL to the image. I'm going to paste it there. And if I go to the browser and I hit refresh, you can see that the GIF is displaying there. Okay. We can use other GIFs as well, though. Like there was one interesting GIF that I quite like. Let me find it. And if you guys have any cool GIFs, you can send them to me and maybe I'll try using your ones in my site. But I do like this one. So I'll say, I'm going to say view with other application. I'm going to open it in my text editor. And this is the GIF I'm going to use. Okay. Like so. And I'm just going to paste that other URL here. And this is just a URL to a GIF that is publicly available on the internet. So I'll paste that there. And if I go back to my site and hit refresh, you can see the other GIF is there. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do, I'll send you all of the code we've got so far. So this is the code defining my version of the web page. Yours can be different. It starts at doc type HTML. Hey, it doesn't start at the image tag. Okay, so it starts at doc type HTML if you're copying from the chat. Okay, cool. So we've now got an image tag from a public URL. What did we use? We used the image tag with what is called the source attribute. The source attribute. Okay, cool. And that defines this little website. Again, it doesn't look great yet, but we'll slowly customize it and improve it. Okay. So there we go. But that's not the last tag that we need to know. There's one more HTML tag that I want to show you guys before we move on to CSS and other stuff like that. So that is called the A tag. The A tag. Okay, it's just the letter A. Okay, just the letter A. And what this defines is a hyperlink. So some of the best places to see hyperlinks is Wikipedia. So if I search bubble sort and I open the Wikipedia page on bubble sort. Okay, can any of you remember, say it through the mic if you can, what was the definition of the World Wide Web? What's the formal definition of the World Wide Web? Does anyone know? You heard it at the start of the lecture. What's the formal definition of the World Wide Web?
Is it a
Creation of interconnected hypertext documents.
A collection of interconnected hypertext documents, precisely. Okay, so what do we mean by interconnected here? Essentially, what we mean is they link to each other. Okay, they link to each other. And how they link to each other is with hyperlinks. So you can see over here in Wikipedia, there's all of this blue text. And you guys have seen this before. I don't have to explain this to you really. But all of these blue links, like if I click sorting algorithm, then I get taken to another Wikipedia article. If I click random access, then I get taken to another Wikipedia article. If I click computer science, I get taken to another Wikipedia article. From there, we can continually jump around. Like we can click on history. We're now at history. We can click on like mathematical, whatever. So you can jump through all of these different hypertext documents. Okay. And all of these, this is a hypertext document. You can see if I right click and hit view page source. So this is the source code for that Wikipedia page. This should look familiar. Look, they've got at the beginning, doc type HTML. There's the header document. There's the header. If we scroll down, there's the body tag. And you can see we've got all of these. These are tags that we're familiar with, right? These are tags that we are familiar with. So yeah, this is just a hypertext document, and these are linking to other hypertext documents, okay? All of these blue underlined things are just links to other hypertext documents. So how do we create those links? How do we create a link like this? How do we create this interconnected like net of hypertext documents? How we do it is with the A tag, okay? So you can see my second paragraph here says, we just finished bubble sort. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna link bubble sort to the Wikipedia article about bubble sort, okay? So I'm going to put it in an A tag like so. So A/A. So I've just changed it where I've put the bubble sort, the word bubble sort is now inside an A tag. And using another attribute called href, okay? Href stands for hypertext reference. Hypertext reference. Why is it called that? Because it is a reference to a hypertext document, okay? A link to a hypertext document. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to set that equal to another string, and I'm going to put the link to the Wikipedia article about bubble sort inside that A tag. And so now when I go back to Google Chrome, so I saved, I'm going to go back here, refresh. You can see bubble sort is now underlined. You see that? If I click on bubble sort, I get taken to the Wikipedia article on bubble sort. I get taken to this web page. Okay. So that's what we mean by interconnected hypertext documents. They all link to each other. Okay. So there we go. What we've got there is a very basic web page defined exclusively in HTML. You can see that HTML can do some cool stuff. It can create hypertext, it can link to other hypertext documents, it can do paragraphs, it can do some basic text formatting, and it can display images. But you can agree that this is not what a modern website looks like, right? Modern websites look much cleaner than this. They're much better designed. They have more styling options. Okay. How do we define those styling options? Okay, that becomes our next question. So that's HTML. Now, so HTML, as you can see, defines some basic templating, some layouts, and even some basic styling, but not ideal. It's not ideal. Okay. The one thing you must notice about HTML is that this is a language that does not support any complex functionality. So in C#, we had like if statements and switch statements and for loops and while loops and all of this fancy stuff. And even like addition, like the concepts of addition, like adding two numbers together. HTML can't do that. It doesn't do any of that stuff. It's just for templating and for layouts. Okay. And notice it also doesn't do complex styling. So the first thing we want to do is make our website look a little better. Okay. We don't care about complex functionality yet. All we want to do is style our web page a little. And what we use for that is CSS. Okay. The cascading style sheet, cascading style sheets. All right. So CSS is also a language. It's sometimes referred to as an HTML specification because it's always used with HTML. It's kind of useless by itself. So it's always used with HTML. So some people say it's not really its own language, but whatever. Not a discussion we really have. Excuse me? What's up, Yusuf? Okay. So CSS is used for styling, aesthetics, okay, for look, general styling, typographical information, color, sizes, orientation, all of that kind of stuff is what CSS does really well. Okay. And that's what it's designed for. Cool. So let's start with doing some basic CSS. Let's see the kind of thing that this can do. Now, by the way, so I've shown you some basic HTML, and you can see there are a lot of different tags that can be difficult to remember. What I'm going to tell you now, what you must remember, the A tag with the href attributes is how we link to another hypertext document. The image tag with the source attributes is how we display images. The paragraph tag is for paragraphs. And that's the main thing you must remember about HTML. When you're actually programming HTML in the real world, you will not remember every single possible tag. There are too many, okay? There are so many. How we usually do this in the real world is you'll say like htmlcheatsheet.com, okay? That's a website. You can see there are other cheat sheets. There are many HTML cheat sheets, and you can visit this website, and you can see there they give you all of the tags you could ever possibly want, okay? They tell you how to use them, exactly what they do, and all of that kind of thing. Okay, this is how we develop HTML in practice. Obviously, you guys are writing a test, so you need to remember certain tags because you will be asked about them. Quick question: how did you get your Google background like that? That is a good question. I honestly forget, Yusuf. I honestly forget. I think there's somewhere in like theme or something that you can change. Like here in the bottom right, click edit. to customize it, but I forget. Cool. So yeah, this is where you can find all of the tags that you want. Cool. But you can see, so Yusuf just asked me about my background. How did Google do this? How does Google change the background of the web page like this? Well, we can see that now, in fact. So there's a fairly simple CSS tag that allows you to set the background of your page. So what we're going to do is inside the body tag, we're going to write our first bit of CSS. So you guys know we have created this text file called styles.css, or sorry, that's the wrong one. Here it is. We've created this CSS file called style.css. We haven't used it yet, but we will. But for now, we're just going to put the CSS inside our HTML documents, okay? We're just going to put it inside the HTML document, just because it's a bit simpler for now, okay, while we have so little. Okay, so every single tag in HTML, well, I don't want to say every single one because there are probably a couple of exceptions, but the vast majority of tags in HTML have what is called the style attribute. So we've seen the source attribute in the image tag to point to some image that is at a public URL. We've seen the href attribute inside the A tag to point to a hypertext document, to reference a hypertext document. There is also the style attribute, so style, okay? And what style can do is it can specify some CSS styling. So inside the body tag, I'm going to use the style attribute. So I'm going to say style equals, and then I'm going to give it a string, okay, a string. I'm going to set the tag, the CSS tag, this is the CSS tag, called background color. So I'm going to say background dash color, and I'm going to set it to light blue. Okay. Although I've always used light blue, let's think of another color. We'll do maroon. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to set it to maroon. All right. And now when I go back to so I hit Control S to save. And you can see when I go back to my document, you can see that everything's now maroon. Interesting. Okay, I think let's stick with like light red. Are you able to paste? Yeah, you are able to set the background to an image as well, Yusuf. If you're interested again, so when you edit these yourselves, so I will link you guys to a tutorial of how to create your own website and get it actually available publicly on the internet. And if you want to like do that and you want to make a fancy website, again, you'll go to some cheat sheet like this and you'll click on the CSS page and they'll give you ways to set the background to an image and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. For like the topic of the lecture and what you'll actually be tested on though, I hope you understand that it's like not, we won't cover like absolutely everything, but you can see you can set it to a gradient like this. Okay, a gradient like this. You can set it to images, like all of the different options will be displayed somewhere in these little cheat sheets. Okay, but like once you understand how to read it, it's quite easy to continue customizing it. Okay, but yeah, you're able to set it to gradients. You're able to set it to images. You're able to set it to even like a bunch of emojis if you wanted. You could do whatever you like. Okay, cool. So there we go. We've set the background color. I'm going to change it to light red so that you can still actually read the text. So light red, you can see, ooh, I guess light red, it doesn't know what light red is. Okay. We'll stick to light blue then, because light blue, I know it does know. Okay, safe option because you're still able to read the text and it changes. Okay, cool. So we've made some basic changes. Cool. But we want to do more styling than just this. Okay. So it's time to introduce you guys to another concept. There's a problem. So you can see that I can edit the body here. So I can edit the style here. And likewise, I could do the same with my paragraph tag over here. So I could say style equals color red, I think should work. You can see that now the font there is red. The font of that paragraph is red because I set the color to red. But you can see that now, if you were working on a large hypertext document, so I'll give you a quick example. If we jump back to that Bubble Sorts Wikipedia article, and I hit view page source here, you can see, look at the length of this hypertext document. You see how long this is? You see how much HTML there is here? Let's see, there is, in just this HTML document, there is 678 lines. Okay, 678 lines. Now, that's too much. Okay, you can't edit in line like that. You can see there's a bunch of paragraphs in that HTML document. Actually going and editing the style of each paragraph tag individually would be shockingly inefficient. Okay, it would be really, really, really annoying. So CSS allows us to do this in another way. Okay, in the header tag of your HTML documents, you can add the style tag, /style, like so. Okay, style/style. You can add the style tag. And inside that style tag, you can define any HTML styling, any CSS styling that you want. Sorry, I meant CSS styling. Any CSS styling that you want. So everything inside this style tag will be read as CSS. Okay, it will be read as CSS. So to show you that, what I'm going to do, I'll copy that complex. They had that nice looking gradient in the CSS cheat sheet. And you'll see how like nice and easy this is. Let's take that. I'll copy paste this. It's pretty long. It's a lot of CSS, but that's cool. So I'm going to put that here. So I'll say body. I'm going to open up a curly bracket and close a curly bracket exactly like we do in C#. And I'll post all of that code that I just stole from the CSS cheat sheet. Okay, like so. Inside that body tag. Okay, now, if it works correctly, when I go back and refresh, it's not the greatest of gradients, but you can see I've got like a blue gradient as the background now. It goes darker, then slightly lighter, but we could edit it a little bit because it should be, number one, I want it a little bit lighter because it's a little bit dark. Okay, that looks pretty cool. So I'm going to use this one instead. Okay. But yeah, I'm just showing you this for interest, guys. So you can see I can now define CSS code inside the style tag. Okay, inside the style tag. Okay, so I'm setting the background. Now, what do you notice? So immediately something strange has occurred. Okay, wow, that's a very interesting gradient. Okay, it's looking pretty strange. So you know what? We'll keep it simple. I'm going to set just the background color. Okay, rather than doing all these complex styling things because they can be a little bit finicky. So inside the head tag, okay, there's an important thing to notice here, guys. So take note of this. Okay, so you can see I define the background color to be light blue over here. And over here, I define the background color to be red. Okay, so in the style tag, I define it to be red. And in the body tag, I define it to be light blue. Now, when I go back to my documents and refresh, you can see that it is light blue. Why is it light blue? The reason it is light blue is because the background color was changed. It reads the documents, okay? This is why it's called cascading style sheets. You can think about it like that. It cascades downwards, okay? You can see that the background color was set to red over here, but the document is red from the top left to the bottom right, okay? Exactly how we read English. So we've got background color red. Inside the body tag, the background color is set to light blue. So the latest change is what takes effect, okay? The latest change is what takes effect. Always, okay? So the document is read from top to bottom, and you will be asked about that in tests, so remember it. The latest CSS changes are what take effect. We set the background color over here. We also set it over here, but this background color was last, okay? So the background color attribute, this little variable or whatever here, was updated to light blue over here. Okay, so that overwrote when we changed it to red. Okay, so the latest changes take precedence. So that's an important thing to remember. But yeah, other than that, you can edit all of the CSS inside the style tag at the top here. How do you do it? You can see that you can reference any tag. So I referenced the body tag over there. You can reference any tag in your CSS just by typing its name. Afterwards, you put these little curly brackets, and then you can set whatever attribute you want. Okay, so I'll say color is set to red. Okay, and I'll set the background color to light blue over here. Okay, so why are we doing it this way, guys? So the thing is, it's now much easier for us to edit and manage the styling of the styling of the page, because it all goes in these style tag at the top. Okay, the style tag at the top. The other thing we can do is align everything. So I'm going to say text align center, text align dash center. Okay, so like so. I think we have to spell center like an American. How do you make your GIF smaller? So if you want to see that, you can set the width and the height of any image using the width and height attributes, Yusuf. So inside the image tag, you can just type height equals, and then you just type the number of pixels you want. It's also a string. So say I want it to be, let's say 140 pixels in height. So now when I go back, you can see currently it's whatever. You can see it's now 140 pixels is the height. Okay. So you can see I'll change it to 200 pixels, and you can see like that. So you say height equals, and then a string with the number of pixels that you want. Okay. String with the number of pixels that you want. So 200 px is how we say that it's in pixels. There's other ways you can say it. So like you could also say, I think you could say like em. And that'll use like a different way of measuring, or was it VW? There's like different units, but we all use pixels. Okay, cool. But generally, you'll set it in CSS as well. But whatever, it doesn't matter too much. Like how you would learn this is playing around. The basic thing is once you know how to create the documents and read it, it's pretty easy to edit, to be honest. Okay. Okay. So last thing before we stop. So we've changed some things. I said text align dash align to center. So you can see everything's now centered aligned on my page. So that looks a little bit better. Now, the last thing I want to show you guys before we stop here. So we haven't used our CSS file yet. You guys will notice. So we are using CSS inside the style tag, but we haven't used the CSS file. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you I'm going to show you how we use the CSS file and why it exists. Okay, why would we use the CSS file instead? So you can see this was working pretty fine. The styling is separate from the templating, so that's pretty useful already, even without the CSS file. So why would we also use a CSS file? And after I've shown you this, I'll let you guys go. Okay. So what I'm going to do in Google Chrome, I'm going to right click and hit inspect. Okay, inspect. I could also have pushed Control-Shift-I. Okay, you can see here is the text document, our little HTML documents. You can see is on the right here. I'm going to go to network, okay, or let's say sources. I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, you can see that index.html is one of the sources we have, and the entire HTML document is over there. So you can imagine that Google Chrome could have gone and fetched index.html from a server somewhere. Right? In this case, the server, we can pretend the server is just my computer, but you can imagine that it could fetch it far away, okay, from far away, like all the way from America. It could go and fetch this like HTML file all the way from Europe or China, whatever site you're accessing, wherever its server is based, okay. So the index.html file will be fetched from wherever. In this case, it's just and you can see that currently everything is defined in our HTML file. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take all of this stuff from the style tag. So the body and the P, I'm going to take it from the style tag. Okay, so you see the style tag is now empty. I pushed Control X or like right click and hit cut. I just cut it out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to style.css, the style.css document. and I'm going to paste the body and the P tag there. Okay, the body and the P tag, I'm just pasting there. Okay, and I'm just going to change the formatting a little bit to make it a little bit neater. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And I'm going to hit save. Okay, now you can see, so I removed the styling from my HTML documents. So currently you can see it's not styled anymore. It looks how it used to, right? But what we can do is we can use the style tag to fetch our CSS document. We can just go ahead and fetch our CSS documents. If you look in the PDF, just for your reference, you can see an example of this on page 91. Okay, so the style tag itself can define CSS inside our HTML documents, but we can also just go and fetch the style from the CSS documents. And how we do that, there's another HTML tag called the HTML link tag. Link, okay? And there's a few attributes that you have to set in the HTML link tag. The important one that you guys must remember, okay? If you want to point to a CSS document, you use the HTML link tag with the href attributes. Notice the href attributes, we also used it in the A tag. Why are we using the href attribute again? Because CSS is an HTML specification. So it is a hypertext document. So we point to it using a hypertext reference, okay? So the href attributes in the HTML link tag can point to style.css. So style.css, you guys know that is the name of this document that is holding the CSS code, okay? And so I can just hit save. Now it won't work yet because there's other attributes that we have to use as well, okay? There are some other attributes that we have to use as well. So the first attribute that we have to use is rel. So rel, we are pointing to a style sheet, And then you must give it the type, okay? Type equals text dash CSS, okay? And you can see that now in sources, so number one, the styling on the page changed. And in sources, you can see it's fetching index.html and styles.css. So why is this great, guys? The reason we do this is because now you can imagine if I'm fetching these documents from a server, the style is now in a separate file to index.html. So you can see styles.css is saved locally and index.html is saved locally. I fetched both of them from the server. If one of the files is changed, then I only have to fetch the one that changed from the server. I don't have to fetch them both, okay? Which means I download less. It means the site will be more responsive, okay? It means that I'm fetching less from the server, okay? That is what we call cache memory, okay? Cache memory or cache storage. So the cache is on my computer, so I can store it locally and I only fetch what I need from the server, okay? When a page changes, then I can refetch that page, but I don't have to refetch the style every time. I did have to refetch the style every time when it was defined in the header document of the page, because whenever the page changes, I have to fetch the whole thing. So the reason we use a separate file is number one, it's neater. It's easier to read because all my CSS is in one file and all my HTML is another file. And the other advantage is that it allows me to take advantage of cache storage. Okay, so that's HTML and that's CSS. Next week, we're going to learn about JavaScript, and then we'll jump into the server-side aspect of programming. So notice everything we've been programming so far is in the browser, right? It's all run in the browser. The HTML is processed by the browser, the CSS is processed by the browser, and the JavaScript is processed by the browser. So what does the server do? Okay, and we'll learn about that next week. Okay, what does the server do? Cool, guys. So we'll leave that there. Sorry, I took up like 3 extra minutes. Thank you very much for coming. I'll remember to update the registers with those of you who arrived a bit later. But yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, Tuffy. Cheers. And yeah, see you guys all next week. And yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem, Clark. Cheers. Cheers.
Okay.
Cheers, Chris. Cheers.
Cheers, cheers.